So, in case anyone out there is wondering if it's possible to be a vegan slash vegetarian, meaning that you might eat eggs once in a while, if it's possible to do that, in other words, try to be a vegan as naturally as possible without supplementation, my answer is no, and yes and no, because, well, technically I should be dead. I mean, I was a vegan slash vegetarian for over 23 years. So technically I should be dead because I never supplemented. I never took B12 ever. I didn't even do it on purpose. I just did it because I didn't know any better. How did I survive that long? Well, if it weren't for antibiotics, I'm sure I'd be dead. I would have been dead about 5 years into the diet. About 5 years into my vegan vegetarian diet, I actually got infection, and the doctors could not explain to me how or why. I had a high fever, and they just said it was an infection, and they didn't know how I got it. And I had to be on antibiotics and an IV drip in the hospital because I had such a high fever. And that was only 5 years into the diet. So if I was living in nature and had no access to doctors or antibiotics, then I surely would have been dead 5 years into my vegan diet. And the doctors are stupid because they don't test for stuff like that. They don't test for B12. And yeah, and I didn't know either. Nobody ever told me that I needed a supplement, so I never even thought about doing that. Yeah, I know that's really stupid, but I'm a loner, and I don't, I guess you could say I kind of like live in my own world, because I go online a lot and read a lot of different things, and some of it may be true and some of it may not be true, but what I wanted to believe was that veganism was the healthiest diet on this planet, number one, and that as long as I was eating everything I was supposed to eat and doing everything I was supposed to do and supplementing with superfoods such as, oh, I don't know, like mushrooms or, tofu, fortified soy milk, different fortified vegan foods, different things like that. Anything I would hear online, I would pretty much believe. And I thought as long as I was doing that and eating a little bit of egg once in a while, that I'd be okay, that I wouldn't have any problems. And again, I wasn't really that much into reading up on B12 or anything like that. So yeah, then after that, I was very healthy. I was very convinced that the diet was the answer because I was able to keep my weight down. I wasn't gaining weight. I was pretty thin, healthy, never got sick. I just thought I was doing the right thing. And years went by, like I said, 23 years. And I was never sick ever. I can't remember ever being sick. And I never took aspirin for anything, nothing, completely natural, healthy lifestyle, never supplemented B12. And then finally, about 22 years into that, and only eating eggs once in a while, not very many, not very much, a little bit of yogurt here and there, just very, very little, just enough to where I felt like I was getting enough B12, possibly. I don't know. My body was just forcing me to do it. Now that I'm thinking about it, if I hadn't done that, I would have probably got another infection a lot sooner than the 22 years it took. So about 22 years into my vegan diet without supplementation, I got a lung infection, and I didn't even know I had walking pneumonia. I was basically walking around for about 6 months with a lung infection. And I had a cough that wouldn't go away, which is very unusual for me. I don't go around coughing like most people do. So I'm thinking maybe most people probably are B12 deficient, and most people don't know that they have some kind of infection going on in their lungs or something, because you're not supposed to do that. I notice a lot of people do. Sometimes they call it a smoker's cough, but I don't smoke. So I had no reason to have a constant cough. And I felt like I wasn't getting enough oxygen, and there was a lot of things going on. I mean, I went to the hospital many times within this like 6-7 month time frame that I was sick, and no doctor ever diagnosed me with B12 deficiency. It just went on and got worse, and they just thought I was crazy. And basically, yeah, because one of the symptoms of B12 deficiency is you have hallucinations and you lose it mentally, and I was totally losing it mentally. And I'd actually been losing it mentally a lot longer than the 6 months, because now that I look back, I was completely losing it the whole time. Thinking all this stuff that, oh, it's the best diet ever. You don't need a supplement. You don't need to, just as long as you do this or that or the other, as long as you're doing everything right. Like, yeah, as if. I mean, if that was true, there would be plenty of wild people in this world, living out in the jungle somewhere, or just being vegan and vegetarian. It'd be much easier than have to hunt down animals, but that doesn't happen. And only because of just recently, the discovery of B12, it has just been very recently. Actually, it was, I think, discovered in the 30s or 40s, something like that. That's very recent. And it's only been until, that time that people can actually say that they're vegan or vegetarian, because without supplementation, again, I'm explaining to you what happens. So I was walking around with this walking pneumonia, and I just got really lucky that I finally got a doctor that would actually give me a blood test for B12 levels. And that's when it just totally, like, all of at once, I realized what I was doing to myself, and that the diet I was on, the vegan vegetarian diet that I was on, was not healthy. Because if it was, how was I so low on B12 and dying of walking pneumonia? And at that point, I started really looking into healthy meats such as grass-fed beef and stuff. And I don't believe in like doing the shots. I just can't see myself doing that. And I can't see myself like going to the doctor every 6 months or every year to get a blood B12 test or get a shot every few months. I just can't live like that. I don't like going to the doctor any more than I absolutely have to. And I don't want to have to get blood tests forever and think about all this stuff forever and worry about it. And it's not just B12, it's other things that I'm not even going to get into. It's again, I was losing it mentally, and that's not just from B12 deficiency, it's from other deficiencies too, which I'm not going to really get into right now. And I'm not trying to convince anyone or stop anyone from doing the diet. I'm just trying to make people aware what can happen if you don't supplement. And but there's other things too, and I'm not going to get into that right now. Yeah, I had to go on antibiotics, and if it weren't for that, I'd probably be dead by now. So if you think you can live without supplementation, I strongly doubt it. And I also think that the reason why, well, there's a lot of theories out there I'm not really going to get into because no one really knows for sure. But, if you just look at our closest relative, the chimpanzee, they do kill other animals. They're not vegan, they're not vegetarian. And if you look at gorillas, they're not our closest link, and they have huge stomachs to hold all this vegetation. And I definitely don't want to be some kind of like gorilla with a huge stomach. And that's why I had to stop juicing just recently, because it was giving me a really, really huge stomach. And I do juice a little bit of greens and maybe just a tiny bit of apple, but any more than that, I can't do it anymore. Things change in your body. Your body doesn't stay the same. I'm over 50. Yeah. So anyway, take care.